do the real quick on the music.
You got it. Honestly, you could bump it. We can just pop straight in.
All right,
Yeah,
let's rock.
start. Yeah, yeah.
All
All
right,
right,
all right.
here we go. How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good, man. It's been
That's what we
extra
like
hot
to
today.
hear. That's what we like to hear. Yo, yo. So we back again. We went live. What was it? Probably was it a week ago? Was it a full week
About a
ago? Yo, this man, Corey Shamerda. Yo, you funny, bro. But yeah, so we just wanted to kick off and
well,
start getting a little familiar with our upcoming brand mastery webinar series. So tell them a bit about the series, Corey, how much we got running for him, what we got in store for him.
I mean, we got quite a bit in store, man. Honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
So the whole premise of this brand mastery webinar series is to give entrepreneurs an inside scoop and best practices and techniques to really build their brand as it grows. So that way you create
Mm-hmm.
a loyal fan base for your business. Make sure your line is running smooth so you can reduce the stress between you and your customers. As well as, of course, we want to scale and accelerate how fast we grow in business and all of that from marketing and sales. The branding is essential in that system, man, for sure. For sure.
Good man, yeah, and so that's how we lacing folks up. It's gonna be a multi-part series. We're gonna have multiple different episodes, and we actually got the registration open now. So very shortly after we get off this live, it might already be in Corey's, but you're gonna see that registration link in our bio so that you can actually tap in. And it's gonna be like a bi-weekly series. We're gonna have a couple of special guests that are professionals in their respective fields come in and join us and collaborate with us to just facilitate as much learning as possible to make sure that you have everything that you need to be able to scale up your business, your brand, just grabbing the different parts and the different perspectives from various experts. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Manny. Manny said he's putting the gang on. I appreciate you. And what's up, Mark and Kinsey? It's good to see y'all in here. Yo, I do just want to let you know real quick, Corey. I'm tuned into you on the StreamYard and getting a little bit of feedback from your mic, but I don't think it's too bad. I just wanted to give you a heads up in
All
case
right.
there might be like a cable loose or something.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too, man. With
Are
technology, bro.
you
At least we live
are
on
you hearing that
IG.
on
We
my
always
end too?
nah. I'm hearing you loud and clear. It's coming direct
Okay.
through my Instagram. I'm not even hearing nothing from StreamYard right
Okay, raw. Okay, that's fine then. Well, yeah, we got it on the IG and we still gonna pull clips from it. So no matter what, folks is gonna be able to kind of soak up
now.
the game.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself, brother. Some of you, tell our audience maybe and then get for the first time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And real quick, I just want to acknowledge Manny. He says that he's used StreamYard, but it don't work on Instagram, and that's the only thing that sucks about it. Yeah, I agree. I love StreamYard though. I was just telling Corey before we hopped on, like it's a really raw application. But yeah, so to kind of respond to you, so my name is Josh Kennedy. A lot of folks call me Rav, Ravage the Game. Got a couple different monikers, different names. But yeah, I've been working with video content and as a creative professional in a couple of different arenas for just under 10 years. And so in the last couple of years, I've really narrowed a lot of my professional focus to helping brands, create back-end systems that let them use video content in a way that is sustainable, efficient, and actually contributes to their brand's development, their bottom line, and their customer experience. And so that's a big part of what we've seen in like the social media wave and uprising in the last couple of years. And so prior to that, like I was really working in bigger productions for like corporate stuff, broadcast, things of that nature. And I'll still work on projects like that, collaborating. But sometimes, I realize like, you still have to be able to be consistent and show up every day in the marketplace. And you're not going to do that with a commercial. You're not dropping a commercial every day. And so now I have an agency that focuses on more of that everyday providing value, showing up and building your brand. And I have a great time doing it. So it's been super cool.
Hey, that's clean, bro. That's clean. That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. So
Mm.
on the, I guess more more on the hands-on as far as not so much facing, but behind the scenes side of branding. Assist within the company. It's called Champions of Enterprise. Somebody who are getting to know me for the first time. So Champions for Enterprise is a brand development agency. It's primarily back in work. So that's going to be the strategy behind, why do you want to create? What is the intent that you want to send? You want to share through the content that you're creating. What is those objectives? Also, when it comes to operate as seamless as possible, engagement, or when it comes to training strategy behind those things or for branding. If I was to eventually hire a teammate, if I don't know how to give them the proper instructions to facilitate a role that I no longer want to do, we talk about delegation, then how effective is that person going to be helpful to my business? So those are where, training and models and things like that come into play. And that's why I focus more on that side of branding. Side.
Good man, yeah, that's such a scary area to live. And I just want to acknowledge that because in the last couple of years, a lot of folks come to a place of understanding that business is really supposed to put you in titles to kind of be separate
Right.
from habit to a lot of different positions. So I love that you frame that because it really just the context of the only way that you get there is by being intentional about it, thinking about what the operation works look like. It's more just you, even just you, very forward thinking in that way. And I think a lot of us are benefiting from that kind of set more and more. So I appreciate that. And so we got under an hour that we wanted to use to kind of just get folks familiar with the series that we got coming up, a little bit of actives. So I think it'd be a good to start time to kind of go through some of those topics, those broader episode topics.
Okay.
And a little bit just to provide a little bit of context so that folks understand more than they can expect to actually come onto the episode. What do you think?
I think that makes perfect sense. My computer's being a total right now. So those up and we can read those off. That's what's up. That's
Affect consequence of having good content.
right.
And a lot of people think or realize until and so as one is going to be about reducing customer friction and alleviating frustrations, right? Nobody wants to be in business or deal with a business that is frustrating, that doesn't meet their expectations, and that overall has similar experiences. I want to kind of contribute on that and speak to the unique or something that keep brands in that place where they are creating that kind of environment for their customers and the people that they're serving.
Right. Okay. Perfect, man. That's an excellent segue there. Honestly, I think one of the places that a lot of businesses struggle, I'm not going to say fail, because you can still create great content that's attractive, and it obviously appeals to people that you're trying to serve. But I'm going to say a lot of consistency in the messaging is where a lot of businesses struggle. The reason being is because we want to offer a lot of different things, and we tend to try to catch all the fish with the same bait. You know what I mean? So, an example of that, let's say my customer, they want a pitch deck for their company because they're entering into a competition. So that way they could hopefully gain some interest and some revenue during that event. So if I'm marketing to them and I'm saying, hey, I do all of these things, including pitch decks, then if I'm saying everything at once, that might overload them. I might they might miss out on the opportunity as well as myself, because what they need is mixed in with everything else that I have to offer. If I was to segment and say, hey, my business also does, pitch decks for companies, this is how it works and these are the results. That's very direct to that customer, that potential client's pain point. and I'm able to still tie them in, still promote the message of my brand that we offer multiple services, but I'm being very specific to the problem that that particular customer is trying to solve. So I would say like being inconsistent their messaging, maybe saying too much at once is what initially creates that confusion and causes us missed opportunities when it comes to marketing to businesses and other people.
That's powerful, particularly because it's not just like it can be
Mm-hmm.
looked at as kind of like a holistic approach as a brand. Often, though, I think you can also see it in a more micro sense, even just with a particular offer or in a
Mm-hmm.
particular product line.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you think is more common mistake in that business? Is it having that inconsistent messaging as a brand in every step that you take? I think that there are a lot of businesses that hit the mark in a pretty good way most of the time, but maybe they don't realize that they have to be that intentional down to the individual product line or service as well. Which would you
Mm-hmm.
say is more common?
I think I think it's more common practice. Well, wait, rephrase the question for me. Just make sure I'm answering this correctly.
Yeah, so which mistake do you think people make more often?
Okay.
Excuse me. Having inconsistent messaging as a brand or having inconsistent messaging for a single product or service as
Mm.
opposed to as an entire entity.
Okay, I'm gonna say inconsistent message for a product or service. I'm gonna say that. Here's why. So, similar example. Let's say someone wants to go to college or university for a specific. So, if the company says, let's say you're going to this website and they're only telling you information about their programs, but it's only in one medium, for example. Okay. So they're still promoting one product, which is education, but they're not really showcasing the benefits or the experience that you would have if you were to go to their school.
Mm,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
So them having a, let's say, tab in their program directory that is specific to, okay, we offer the degree that you're looking for. If it's business administration, this is what you'll experience in the business administrative school.
program.
You
Yeah.
find this when this is I know that for UF, for example, when I was looking at going to college and university, I was looking at like so like or environmental studies or psychology.
Mm,
And when you go to schools that are number one or high ranking in these particular categories, then they're going to give you a full experience right off the bat. They're going to
yeah.
have pictures, they're going to have downloadable brochures, they're going to give you an opportunity to talk to people, as opposed to again that first example I gave you. This is a good example of showcasing the specific benefits of one product versus showcasing the benefits of multiple products and not particularly focusing having it segmented on highlighting specific ones. So
That
that's
makes
what
a
I'm
lot of
thinking.
sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that I love that you touched on is just like that pre-framing, so to speak, of the customer journey. And naturally, like as a creative professional, like, I kind of look at things through that lens and through that framing. But
Right.
I think a lot of creative professionals or maybe even creative businesses will benefit from that because in our line of work, so often because our passion results in, really cool end results, so
Right.
often we get caught up in thinking like, okay, that's the biggest thing that I need to nail is creating a really cool, stunning, engaging end result. But
Right.
as a customer, on the customer end, I think more often than not, it might even be outweighed by what the experience is like getting there. And actually, I
Right.
recorded a piece of content the other day about kind of like when I first started working on sets that were bigger, that were,
Mm.
bigger production companies, bigger agencies, whatever that was. One of the biggest things that I noticed that differentiated those companies and the way they ran their projects from smaller projects or like smaller companies or even like myself at the time was just the amount of intention that they put into the customer experience. So like not only were they
Right.
working with nicer cameras and like working on more elaborate concepts, but they also went out of their way to make sure that like the agency representatives that were on set were eating good food, and they had a tent for them
Right.
that shaded them from the sun when they were out shooting on a hot day and like things of that nature. And
Facts.
I think right now, like in the content space, a lot of people are hearing like, yeah, make content, make content, make content. but a lot of folks are missing out on the opportunity to actually contribute to what that customer experience looks like by giving people a taste of what that is before they work with them. Like one of the best
Right.
examples I ever saw of that, it was a real estate agent, and he had this ongoing Facebook series. It was a live series called Live from the Closing Table. It was super simple.
Nice.
He'd be at the closing table with first time home buyers, because that's who he started out with, and he would just go live with them. He'd pop up and he'd be like, yo, tell me where we at, like whatever. Oftentimes it was a new couple or a couple moving into their first home, and they were all excited. They were, you know what I'm saying? And it just gave people a taste of like, look, I'm going to help you. Not only am I going to help you just get a home, I'm going to help you feel the way these people feel right now. And all you
Right.
got to do is hit that link in my bio and book a session with me, or whatever it is that might look like. And so I
Yes.
think a lot of brands have an area of opportunity there that they can still continue to maximize. So I appreciate that you pointed that out, because I think you're spot on. So yeah, that's going to be kind of what we dive into in episode 1, about reducing that friction and making sure that your customers aren't frustrated. It's really just like, how do I pre-frame the experience in a way that makes my customer connect with it before they even experience it, before they actually
Right.
opt in, because more often than not, that's going to be what drives them over the edge. And then we've got
Right. That's
episode 2. And did everything come
actually
through with you? You can look at it.
that. Yeah, I got everything right here up and running too.
Perfect. Run us.
But real quick before we go on, man, what we're saying right now is just one piece of the four pillars to persuasion.
Yeah.
If you want to persuade someone, consumers, other businesses to develop relationships in the market, which is very open but very intentional at the same time. Um, Creating very or highly segmented and focused content for particular offers
Mm.
is extremely important. That's just one of four of the pillars of persuasion that we'll be discussing on the 11th as well.
And I feel like that's a perfect segue into episode 2, because it rides right off the coattails of that. And I want you to share with folks what that is, and kind of what that looks like through your perspective.
Yeah. So episode 2, we're gonna be talking about how feedback affects your bottom line, man.
Woo,
Woo wee.
woo. I need you to give them some context there, boy, because I
Come
think
on,
I
bro.
think feedback is really where the money's made, and like the pros know that, and a lot of the smaller business folks and like the independent creators and businesses don't know that as much. So give them some context there.
Facts. So there's a couple things. So first and foremost, if you don't know what your consumers want, how are you really
Mm,
helping them? How do you know that the content that you're creating, the information that you're providing is effective in moving them through your sales pipeline? If that begins with awareness and then converting them into a lead, just starting there. Well, how do we know the difference without the feedback? So there are several ways to go about it. Obviously, surveys are pretty effective because those are getting general interest in what your consumers may want to learn. If you're
mm,
already in business, getting feedback, learning how to learning how to digest criticism, which is something we're going to
Oh,
be talking about for sure.
amen.
Learning how to digest criticism is essential for you to intake what we consider as negative results to create an opportunity to improve and maybe even remarket to those same customers who might not have the best experience as you grow and continue. So that's just a little bit from my side on what
Yeah.
I believe the power of feedback and how it can affect the bottom line. Because again, if you're not creating content that converts, then your sales and conversion rates are going to drop. Even if you have a very high volume of people who are interested in your business, again, if they're not saying yes, this is valuable to me, then who are you in business for? I'm just
Right.
saying.
It's like it doesn't really matter. You're kind of making it for yourself at that point. And I
Right.
love that kind of like what you spoke on is just really rooted in your mindset. And it's a mindset that is like a very common trait in entrepreneurial types, which is being able to look at, like you said, what could be viewed as a bad or a failed outcome and making an opportunity out of it. And I
Right.
think the companies that nail this best are the ones that go into it with that kind of scientific perspective. And so, like, one
Right.
of the things that I tell my clients and inform my clients about is like, look, when it comes to making that content that, it's not, this isn't a commercial, this isn't a one off campaign kind of thing. Like, you're going to have a plan in place to make content every single day. you need to run that almost like a clinical trial, right? And so like
Facts.
you're running a clinical trial, you're following the scientific method. You have your independent variables, which are the ones that you're isolating and you're playing with to see what kind of an outcome they produce. And that outcome is going to be your dependent variables. And then you have the things that you keep the same so that you can make sure that you have a baseline, so that you can make sure that that is not contributing to any kind of variation that you might see or things of that nature. And it's really the same approach with content. You have to go into it with at least some degree of an understanding of what your customer wants, like you said, and what they'll find valuable. But from there, once you put it out, you're listening, and you're listening to hear for that, this sucks, or this is great, not because it reflects on your abilities or your intentions or your care as a business owner, as a professional, but because the market is literally telling you what is going to give you the most success in creating new
Right.
connections, new relationships, new customers, new stories, etc. And it can be,
Right.
like you said, like it can feel very personal at first. And it can be kind of a hard pill to swallow when you see something that maybe goes against your expectations, or that might bring awareness to a flaw that you might have actually been perpetrating. But at the end of the day, it comes down to whether or not you're going to make the opportunity out of that and actually evolve how you do what you do, or if you're
Facts.
going to allow that to tear you down. But it really is a mindset and a choice that you have to make for yourself and for the sake of your business. And your customers notice when you pick them, like, and it stands out, and you know, it creates very different outcomes. So I totally agree. It really is a
Yeah.
mindset thing, bro. That's the craziest thing about it. Is it's really
Facts,
about
man.
the way that you're able to receive that and take action on that after you receive it.
Right, right. I mean, man, you spot on, man. Similar to what I tell, my people, my audience, my community, is that, entrepreneurship is a mindset
Yeah,
before and after the business is introduced. It's a mindset, it's a lifestyle of choosing to move forward against the adversity. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's step one. I mean, that's step one across the board.
yeah.
But I mean, it's so interesting when we talk about bottom line and customer journey and feedback. So it's like, let's say there's three parts to your bottom line, or affect three anchors to your business. So you have the service, which is how customers move through the process from prospect to a client, right? So if your service is poor, then they're not going to want to move forward.
Yeah.
Then we go to the next anchor. The next anchor is going to be, let's call that a rapport, right? So now we're talking to them, connection. This is the human part of your business.
Mm.
So now, if they're in anchor two, if you got them through the door, and now they're having a conversation, and you're exploring what their challenges, what their needs are. If you aren't able to identify or build trust with the consumer, then boom, that they're not going to want to close the sale. And
Right.
even on the set, and then if they get all the way to anchor three and they want to pursue the sale, and you're ready to close, and you're going through the paperwork, and if you're sending them confusing emails and the process of closing is not very simple, and they're getting frustrated, and you're fumbling, you're getting flustered, and it
Mm.
gets messy, then they're obviously not going to buy or
Yeah.
continue to stay with your business long term after the purchase. You know what I mean? And all of these three anchors essentially is what can be improved by gathering feedback at each point, and
Mm.
overall will increase your revenue over time because you're doing more of what most of your customers favor, and you're able to retain them for a longer period of time. That brand loyalty that we always talk about, which affects your revenue and your longevity in business. So,
Yo, what
absolutely.
I love about that three anchor illustration is just like, not only is it simple, but it also shows the importance and the benefit of simplicity. One mistake
Facts.
that I've certainly made, I'm not going to speak for nobody else, but I've certainly made it, is just trying to overcomplicate things too easily because,
Mm,
or too soon, too early, because you think that it's going to help bring you peace of mind and a little bit
mm,
of consistency. But in reality, it just produces more complication and more areas of opportunity where things can break. And
right.
I think I reflect on some of the smoothest transactions that I've ever had with other businesses, and they were not the fanciest. They were not
Hmm.
the most branded, you know what I'm saying? They were not the ones
Right.
that had the most technical back end. They were really the ones where it was just like, okay, that was simple. Like, I just paid you this money really easily. I just got a very simple way of knowing what this project is going to encompass and what I can expect. And
Right.
the process was as it was simple. I didn't have to think too much. It felt like I was being carried through to the end result that I was looking for, and all I had to do was my part. And
Right.
I think that's really where you want to be, but you can only get there through continuous refinement and
There you
through
go.
taking a look at what you think is going to produce that best, but then checking in with your customer. It's very similar to the content, checking in with the people that are actually going through that blind, so to speak, and
Right.
seeing if the experience for them is what you were seeking to create, because otherwise it might make you feel good, it might make you look good from the outside looking in, but if it
Mm.
doesn't feel and look good to the people that are actually entrusting you with their results and with their resources, then you're going to be dead in the water before long. It's
Yep.
just going to be a matter of time.
That's facts, man. That's facts. I mean, like I said, man, we just at this point we just tick for tat, bro. We got
Yeah,
it now. You know what I
we locked
mean?
in straight up.
We
Oh
locked
yeah,
in,
no,
bro.
illuminating for folks. So that's episode 2. It's really going to
Facts.
be digging into like how can you go about collecting and integrating that feedback through the things that you already do, right? Content is one of
Right.
those things that you're already making content for your business, and it can help you gather that feedback that doesn't just improve your content and your marketing, but also your operations and your customer journey, and
Hmm.
same with your branding elements as well. Every iteration of your brand appearing in front of somebody is giving you an opportunity to collect that feedback and get a
Right.
sense of whether or not you're showing up in the way that you want to, that you intend, and that's going to help get your clients the result that they're looking for.
Facts.
And so that leads us to episode 3, which is going to be on September 8th. And this is where things start getting a little bit spicy. This is where we're going to have our first guest, that's
Yup.
actually going to be coming in. So it's not going to be me. It's not going to be Corey. It's going to be
Right.
somebody else. It's going to be a surprise, but they are going to be a relevant expert in the field, in that industry, that's going to be able to give you some tried and true, real life application gems and
Hmm.
perspective, that's going to help you understand the importance of visual identity. That's the topic of
Woo.
episode number 3. How
Mm.
important is your visual identity as a brand, whether you're building a personal brand, a corporate brand, a brand as a business, whatever it is that that might be. And I think the roots of that, when you hear identity, right, that is, kind of a pillar of what you probably work through with clients when it comes to building out their brand, and everything that goes with that. And so, what are some of the things that you keep in mind and that you're helping your clients think through when it comes to relating their identity to a visual
Mm.
manifestation or visual
Mm.
representation of the brand and what the brand stands for?
Right. As a specialist, as a specialist, I focus on context. Okay. So if I'm putting an image out there without context, then you're not gonna know what you're looking at. So
Mm,
in terms of visual identity and representation, this is what we consider as copywriting or content writing. It's the wording that you use, the phrasing that you use to illustrate what your company is about. This could be how your customer testimonials are collected and displayed on your website. The how your the type of words that you use. It's also live video. Okay, cool. The type of wording that you use to describe the features, benefits, and highlight or accentuate the value that you bring to your customers. So, from a contextual perspective, where I focus in, that's extremely important. So, when you're starting to add in video, you're starting to add in colors. There's a color theory. There's a psychology behind why you choose the colors that you choose. There's the fonts. You want to work with a professional individual who is very good at representing your identity or business in a visual perspective through images and other content mediums, because it's extremely important. If you've ever been on, let's say, Nike's website, and you're seeing these campaigns that are beautiful, the colors are pops, and everything just feels very inviting and engaging. That is a combination of that context that we're talking about, the copy,
mhm.
and the strategy behind why the website itself is laid out in a particular fashion. It gets very technical, So that's why we're bringing in some of the best in the industry to talk about the visual, again, representation of your brand identity.
Yeah, man.
So
No, folks are gonna appreciate that because I think one of the hardest things, or maybe the most nuanced things about, especially like kicking off a new business or a new brand, is that it can be so hard to figure out where you're drawing the line in the sand,
facts.
right? Because you need a logo, you need colors in it, right? You're gonna need some visual elements, but it can be
Right.
very easy to wonder, like, okay, so like, should I go into debt to hire like a Harvard psychologist to tell me which shade of yellow I should use?
Right.
Like, and so I think for especially for folks that are starting out, but even for folks that are looking to maybe kick in that overhaul or that rebrand, it's going to be so beneficial to just get that perspective from someone that's worked with folks at all stages of that journey and can kind of give them a little bit of insight there. And I think from a content perspective, one of the things that you mentioned earlier, which is just like so pivotal and such a foundational element of every element of your customer journey, is going to be just that clarity, being
Mm.
able to put something out that is clear, that is there for a reason, that's obvious, and that isn't misleading or misguiding, or it doesn't cause your customer to ask questions that they don't need to ask.
Hmm.
Otherwise, folks, when folks are giving over hard earned money, hard earned resources, the reason that they're willing to do so is because they feel clear about what they're going to be getting in return. And so
Hmm.
sometimes you'll see people will buy an inferior product just because they have a degree of clarity about what it is. It's like if product quality or service was the only thing that mattered, we would not have anybody eating at Eddie V's. You feel me? Everyone would be at Joe's Crab Shack. You feel me? We would
Facts.
not have anybody at some high end burger joint. Nobody's going to Gordon Ramsay's spot. Everyone's going to be at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's just because they're clear on what it is that they're getting. They know, hey,
Hmm.
if I get a Big Mac, I'm gonna get this, boom, and it's gonna cost this much. A lot of
Right.
folks won't venture out of that comfort zone and even go try some of those other things because they don't know what they're getting. One of those
Hmm.
people might actually be here in the room right now, but I'm, I'm not gonna air him out. Yo, I love you, bro. I'm not trying to air you out, bro. But yeah, that clarity, like, more than anything, folks want to make sure that they know what it is that they're getting. And so
Right.
anything that you put into the mix that might lead them to start asking some questions about, it's going
Right.
to cause problems. And that can be down to the little things. That could be down to your font. That could be down to
Right.
your color tones. And it's
Right.
crazy, bro, because the amount of brands that I've worked with that are doing six figures, seven figures, eight figures, and you go on their products, you go on their website, you go on their digital presence, and like their font looks stretched out in a couple of places, their logo, their colors aren't all the same. You're just like, dude, like, yo, man. But it also goes to show that it's not ever just one of these things. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
One of these things can produce a leak in the pipeline.
Right.
Not to say that water's not going to get from point A to point B. It's just to say that you're going to be missing out on some of the water that might be the reason that your bucket isn't full once you
Mm.
collect at point B.
Makes sense. That's good. That's good.
You feel me? And so it's just
That's
that
good.
continuous refinement and making sure that you're starting out in a place where you intend for the bucket to be as full as possible, because that way you're plugging as few holes as you need to be, as opposed to running
Hmm.
around with like tons of putty and just trying to piece things together. You feel me?
Right.
I wish
Right.
we had a plumber in here, bro. They'd be clapping it up. Bro, they'd be like, yo, you showing love, bro. Man,
Shouts out. Shouts out.
if y'all know a plumber, if one of your homies is a plumber, invite him to the live, bro.
Yo, that's
'Cause
hilarious.
you kind of
I
get some
mean, one more.
some
Nah,
perspective.
seriously though, for real.
And
One
then
more point to
I'm a
that
little
is
biased. I'm a little bit biased.
all right,
I'm
yeah, I'm gonna
actually
let you go. We're gonna move forward. I don't want to drop too much jewels. That's why we got the episode. Go ahead, go ahead.
oh yeah, I mean, this my wheelhouse. This has been my bread and butter for a minute. This paid my bills. So
Yes,
next
sir.
episode 4, that's going to be on September 22nd, and we're also going to have a special guest there as well. And I have somebody with a lot of context and a lot of industry experience in my mind that I'm so
Yes,
excited for
sir.
folks to see who they are and just like access the wealth of knowledge that they have.
Mm.
But episode 4 is going to be about the true power of video content. And so if you know me, if you know what I do, I could talk miles around this. You feel me? I could talk miles around this. But I'm not gonna do that yet. I'm gonna let
Okay.
you, Corey, as someone that doesn't work with video, kind of speak on what it is that is so appealing working with video content for someone that isn't in that field, isn't in that
Mm.
scene, but can help brands implement some strategies and some perspectives that make it that much more powerful.
Okay, word. So what piques my interest about video content, man, is the transparency. Honestly,
Mm,
I can hide behind my content, but I'm not really building an authentic connection with my audience if they don't see my face, if they don't know who I am.
mm,
To with tact, I'm gonna say a tactful way to introduce myself and be myself with my community. Definitely authentic, but there's tact there. Because if I don't want y'all to know what me and my wife eating at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm probably not gonna put that on my story. You get
yeah.
me? Like,
Is it the whole block of cheese, bro?
you know what I
We
mean?
all
Like,
been there, bro. We all been
but
there.
if I want to show if a part of me and some of my personal values which bleed into my brand is taking care of your loved one, and I put a post of me treating my wife out to a date, again, same people, same context as far
Mm,
as me and my wife, but different. I'm projecting a different image there that's
mm,
more suitable to my brand. It's more of a personal connection because I'm inviting you in, to the behind the curtain, so to speak, of who
mhm,
the brand is. Another thing, I think it's really important and helpful when it comes to creating educational based content. I mean, think about creating a webinar series. I've created not a web, I mean, a webinar series counts as well,
that
but
too.
think
That
about
too.
creating an online course on like Kajabi
Yeah.
or Teachable or Udemy. I've created courses where it's just only text and no audio. The feedback from that is a lot different from when I'm creating a course where there's just audio and there's visuals,
Mm,
with less context. And then the next step into it is when I'm on YouTube. Hello, YouTube, right? When you're on YouTube, you resonate with people who are literally there talking to you. You're getting an inside scoop into their life. They're giving you a story, man. You're just able to connect and really learn when they're talking to you and talking through it with you. It makes the content more easier, more digestible, I would say, when it comes to creating content. And that process could be very simple. I mean, look at TikTok. Again, video is dominating, and it has
yeah.
been and will continue to do so. So that's where my interest in video content comes into play. The ability to teach in a more personal fashion, and the ability to connect on a more authentic human to human basis, online and offline.
For
For me.
sure. It's been crazy to just see the rise on these platforms, but I think a big part of it, like you said, has just been that authenticity piece that folks really couldn't get from a lot of advertising mediums and marketing mediums, in times past when video was less accessible. But I also
Mm,
think because the ability to capture and create video content has become so much more accessible, people see that as almost like the highest form of connecting with folks and being authentic and capturing something that isn't premeditated and sharing that with people. And really quick,
mm,
I love this question. So
yeah.
my girls asked when it came to organizing the content of the episodes in the webinar series, what guided the
Right.
sequence of information? I think from my perspective, and we both spoke about this, like one of the biggest
Mm,
things that we wanted to do was start from the top, so to speak. And so at the end of the day, like, a lot of people love to binge on that content that's like, oh, how to this, and like, here's a quick trip, and like, life hack kind of thing. They want to get on to like the super nitty gritty, actionable kind of stuff. And, obviously that has its place and it's good. But what I've found, and I think what you found as well, Corey, is that when you're working with people on something that's meant to be long lasting,
mm,
it's not only better, but it's entirely necessary to address the soil that all of their future efforts is actually going to grow from before
right.
you start giving them the tips and the tricks and the techniques and the platforms and things of that
Right.
nature. Because otherwise, they'll think that everything that they're doing is just dependent on their ability to execute tactically. But the
Hmm.
reality of it is the tactical execution is just an extension of what you have strategized. And so you have to do
Mm,
strategy first. And I think that's really what informed the structure was like, okay, let's start out by showing people the problem and showing people the macro of, look, at the end of the day, everything that you're doing and putting intention into as far as how your brand or how you show up in the world, it's just an extension of your value system. It's an extension of your
Mhm.
perspective and the way that you think and the way that you are aware thinking or of thinking can show up in success and in different ways of success. And you want to share that with your clients, but you have to be able to be there first in your business and in the way that you look at your business. And so we really
Mm.
started out with like just evaluating that pipeline. And then we started going into kind of what are those transitional elements? That's where the feedback
Right.
comes in. At every rollover point, how does the feedback inform how smooth of a roll that is? And then once we
Right.
get into the visual identity, we're starting to see how we actually move into the world. And on episode 4, the power of video content, that's just like, okay, how are we going to actually show folks you have this seed, you have this sprout that's starting to flower. How do you make sure that it looks the best that it can and that you capitalize on all of its fruit bearing abilities? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
kind of what I would say. And I don't know if you got anything to add to that, Corey.
Yeah. Honestly, what inspired me to, organize the content in a way that it is via episodes is just kind of making those connections. A lot of business development is focused on marketing and sales.
Hmm.
What isn't seen or shown too much is the power of branding, which is behind all of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when it comes to, let's say, reducing customer frustration, people say, okay, offer a different price point. That might reduce the frustration, make it more accessible to the customers that we want to serve. But that's not necessarily the answer. If your branding is well and you've positioned yourself to be if you positioned yourself as a premium company, then they're going to pay that top dollar,
Yeah.
right? If you're in your marketing campaign, if you are creating content that connects with the pain points and builds a relationship, trust with the audience, then it's going to make your marketing that much more effective. And what is the results of effective marketing, which is what's popularized, is more sales and revenue. Okay.
Mm.
So those are the type of connections that I wanted to draw when it comes to building your business from a branding perspective, which would ultimately, rev everything up when it comes to marketing and sales. When it comes to building brand loyalty and creating loyalty programs, think about Costco, for example. When it comes to what type of credit card and perks do you want to allow your customers to have for
Yeah.
being loyal to your brand. This that has less to do with marketing and sales and more to do with how do we reward and continue to extend the lifetime value of our consumer base. So when it comes to again that video marketing, if you're watching a commercial, and we used this example before, if you're watching a commercial and there's no visuals in it at all, and they're trying to tell you on something, buy this car, you can't see the car. They're telling you it's great, and they're telling you that you can fit all the storage in it, but it's left to interpretation of your imagination. It's not going to be as effective as if you go on that sales floor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're talking to the salesperson, that car salesman, and he's literally saying, yeah, sit in the driver's seat of this vehicle.
Yeah. Take a look. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
now you're there. You're like, okay, OMG, I'm here. And here's a out of the box thought on video marketing, video content. So in a human perspective, memory technically is a visual type of content.
Mm.
Because I have a positive memory with family, friends, a business, my dog. When I go to sleep and I'm reflecting on the time or how my time is spent with these people, what's playing is movies in my
Yeah.
brain, which
Yeah.
is video content, which is memory,
Yeah.
right? So just understanding how important and significant branding, the role that it plays when it comes to business development overall, when it comes to scaling to the moon with it, is where I wanted to really focus in on how does this relate, how does branding play a role in the business development? when it comes to marketing and sales and driving a business forward. So that's,
Man,
very
and
passionate about
having that conversation, I know for a fact, like you and I have a version of that conversation with so many of the folks that we work with, only because video has become such a commodity in the last like couple of years that a lot
it.
of people think that that's the be all end all. But like you
Mm,
said, like it really is, it's that execution of that perspective, of that
mm,
value creation, of that customer journey and customer retention. And the way that you go about it is meant to be informed by those things. It's not
right,
meant to be, okay, we're going to do this thing, we're going to create this video content, and hopefully it does this or it has these kind of results. That's just backwards.
right.
And speaking about kind of like the progression and the order that we put everything in, towards the end, I thought, you know, and I still think like that's a great way, a great place to start getting a little bit more technical so that
Hmm.
folks can either start informing their team on how they want to get their game plan together or putting it together themselves. And
Right.
from a technical standpoint, the amount of play that you have with video content is just so vast compared to even like static images and things of that
Mm,
nature. We're going to talk a lot about the use of video in advertising, particularly
mm,
on social media platforms. You know, we saw video have a very effective run in interruptive marketing on
mm,
cable, right? On cable networks.
mm.
Now
That's
we're
good.
kind of starting to see that go away, but it's really just starting to like merge in with subscription services and streaming
Hmm.
services.
Hmm.
But where video advertising is like super effective right now is on the social platforms, only because you
Right.
can collect so much direct data from the
Mm,
person on the other side of the screen, and
mm,
you can follow them as they continue their journey on the internet. It's actually kind of scary. I'm not even going to hold you, but it works. And if you're a brand that's good intentioned, it's not
mm,
that you're able to follow this dude around or whatever that is.
mm.
It's more that you're able to find someone that you understand and whose problems you understand and connect with them, and then continue to remind them that there is a solution and
Right.
that they can trust you in coming up with that solution together and implementing that solution together. But I think the other thing you mentioned from an educational standpoint, and a lot of the content that I work with folks to make is educational content. It's content
Hmm.
that's made with the purpose of sharing knowledge and sharing perspective. And from an educational standpoint, I think that when you're on video, it just allows so much more trust to be built, not just because people can see your face and they know what you look like, but because like us being on this live right now, I
Right.
can't fake this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
If this was just audio, I could go back, I could edit it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
how do you know? You feel me? But at the end of the day, when you're seeing me just roll off of what I know and what I've experienced over the last couple of years, you're going to have a very different kind of trust in what it is that I'm saying and the depth of my expertise than you are
Mm,
if you're reading a block of copy that I could have written and rewritten and rewritten. It's almost
right.
like why a lot of people will prefer to FaceTime somebody than speak in text message. There's just
Mm,
so much more nuance and so much more authenticity that can't be revised or rebuked or revisited or
right.
redacted because it's as close to being live action as you're going to be able to get. And of course, you know, as like a post production editor by trade,
Right.
like I know that there's still, you know, you have to have a degree of discernment when you're looking at these
Yeah.
topics, right?
Yeah.
But it's the closest that you can get to actually, you know, live action, so to speak. And I think that
Right.
people have an appreciation for that. And one of the craziest things that we've seen in the last couple of years is that, like, so a lot of my friends are video content creators and some of them are visual effects artists. And so, like, we're always trying to push the limits of, like, how can we make this look crazier and crazier and crazier?
Right.
Crazy thing is, in the last couple of years, what people have enjoyed the most of and what they've connected the most with is not the stuff that we've edited to look as crazy as possible. It's the
Mm,
stuff that looks the closest to us pulling out our phone, capturing something, and posting it all in the same
right.
second. It's the
Hmm.
raw stuff. It's the unfiltered, you know, just straight from the source stuff that people are really connecting with. Do I find it
Mm,
strange and a little disappointing sometimes? Yeah, I'm not gonna hold you, but I totally get it, especially now when, you know, people are interacting with each other in a different way. Like, I think most people uh, in this uprising generation would say that they met most of their friends online. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
And
There.
so, and that is the environment and the ecosystem that we're living in. Like, as close as you can get to replicating the real thing is going to connect
Right.
with people. because
Makes
this
sense.
is going to become and continuing to become such an integral part of how people socialize and how
Right.
people know each other and how people develop relationships. Bro, I got homies. Matter of fact, some of them in here, yo. Nate, if you still in here, bro, my boy Nate lives out in Cali, bro. I've met that dude
Mm.
one time, but
Wow.
I've been friends with him. I was tight with he and I. That's one of my day ones, and he was one of my day ones for like 4 years before he and I ever linked up. And
Wow.
since that time that we linked up, it's been about 3 years, and I ain't seen him since. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
met him
Wow.
on, but
Mm.
yeah, like in person, like meeting him in person in the context of our relationship and our friendship is a supplement to our relationship. You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
And so many more examples and iterations of that actually being the case now. It's as close as you can get that's really going to stand out to folks and put them in a position where they feel comfortable trusting you and entrusting you with their resources and getting to know you and connect with you. So I think that's
Right.
a big part of it too. And we're going to dive into all of that and how you can really harness that potential on episode 4, which is going to be on September 22nd.
Right.
And I have a special guest there that's got industry experience,
Yeah.
and got some crazy stats to speak on. And so there's no better folks to learn from, and it's gonna be a hot room, man. I'm
It's gonna be
excited.
dope. I
It's
don't
gonna
even
be
know
so,
what it is. I'm hyped, bro.
it's gonna be so raw,
I'm
bro.
hyped, bro.
We said we was gonna wrap this up at like 8:30, but I do want, we got a couple folks in the room, and I do want to get some thoughts. Like, if you've had any experience with developing a brand or learning a brand or growing a brand, and or you got
Mhm.
any questions or whatever that is, or you just want to have a discussion, like I do want to kind of open up the floor and see what anybody's got. But I'm gonna start with you, Corey. Like, is there anything else that you might want to share about the webinar series or just about some of the stuff that we spoke on?
I mean, I think like an undercurrent, um, part of my, intention for doing this webinar series with you is what I want to do. My goal is to make sure that people understand that going into business or no, sorry, practicing the principles of branding is it's something we can all leverage.
Mm,
You know, we're just using it in the context of business and entrepreneurship, but branding is as simple as learning how to package your skills and pass a job interview to get the type of salary that you want.
mm,
It's really that practical. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, if you have a particular skill, let's say you want to become a marketing coordinator. If you have skills that align with it, then you're going to package your products, which is your skills, your personality, your expertise, in a way that appeals to the human resources team.
yeah,
If you move to the next stage in the pipeline, you're going to have that interview. So understanding interview strategies, maybe how to negotiate your salary, these type of conversations and the tactics, on how to move forward past the interview is important as well. That's branding too.
yeah,
For us, it's like closing. It's like sending someone a proposal. You send someone your resume. Just this synergy is
yeah,
extremely important to understand how we can all leverage branding in our own personal lives as well as our professional success. It's not exclusive to business development, although it is essential to business development as well. So that's an undercurrent of why I decided to move forward again with my business, Champion Circle Enterprise. We believe that confidence is the key to true success. Being able to leverage one's skills and personality to create opportunities. Period. So that's just kind of like just an undercurrent or extra why. A little bit more depth behind why I decided to pursue this webinar series with you, my man. How
yeah.
about you?
And I think, I think a big part of why we are working so well in collaboration on this is because we're so aligned on that confidence key. Number one, just the importance of it, but number two, understanding how easily confidence can be shaken, right? And how
Hmm.
difficult at times it can be to build as a professional, as an individual. And people are becoming more and more aware of this. Like I've seen screenshots of like job applications or job
Hmm.
position postings, and the
Hmm.
company says, "Hey, like we know that imposter syndrome is like a thing. Please, like, don't let anything keep you from applying." You feel me? So like
Right.
we're even starting to see that recognized just like at a higher up corporate HR level. But I think a big part of what I would like to do and what I hope to do and what we're looking to do is just giving people what they need to feel confident about the strategies that they're implementing and the plan that they're putting in place to
Right.
grow their brand and grow their business. And one of
Right.
the things that I would say about that mission, right, about that goal is obviously you should have it as a goal, right, to grow your brand and to grow your business. But at the same time, you should recognize that it is a consequence.
Right.
Like you cannot push a button that says grow your business and like it doesn't exist. You get what I'm saying? Now you could push a button that says run an ad. You could post a
Right.
button that says post this content. You could post a
Right.
button that says send this DM. And all of those little things are going to be what create that kind of end result that you're looking for. But the
Hmm.
way that you go about doing those things has to be empowered by something. It has to be
Right.
empowered by a strategy. And a great
Hmm.
place to start with that is looking at what works in the marketplace, what worked before, what didn't, collecting data on those things, and then refining it to fit your strategy and your goals and your presence and your value system. And so, if anything, like it, at the very least, I know for a fact that we're going to start getting those gears turning in people's minds during this webinar series to just start asking those questions of
Right.
what are those little things, what are those micro actions that I can do to contribute to this grand vision and this grand impact potential that I or that my brand or that my business can have, because ultimately that's what it's going to boil down to, and those are things that you can keep in your control.
Right.
As long as you focus on what you can control and maximizing that, there's really the only thing that might change is the time horizon, but success is inevitable. Like
Ooh,
success is going to come through
I
and
like that. I like that.
you gotta commit to those things. And you and I are in that right now. You know, like
Right.
it's not like we're trying to speak from being on the other side of that and now we're just floating in Zen on a cloud because we ain't gotta work no more. You know what I'm saying? Like that is not where we at. That is not
Fact.
where we at. But I think you and I are in a place, and that's not to say we don't have our days, but we're in a place where we have a good understanding of what that work looks like and what those actions look like and what the true impact potential and the true driving forces, and we can focus on that. We can ground ourselves in those things, and we can be less attached to the outcome because we're focusing on what kind of impact we can have on that daily basis, as opposed to just what we can hang our hats on once it's grown to the size that we want or the
Right.
impact that we want. And I truly believe that the folks that tune in with us, they're going to get a piece of that for themselves as well. And
Right.
I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be hot.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be dope. Real quick, if you guys have any questions, feel free to submit them in the question box.
Yeah, yeah.
We are talking about branding, introducing our brand mastery webinar series. Again, that first episode is gonna be on August the 11th, which is this coming Thursday. Definitely hit us up in the DMs for the registration link. As we are live right now, as stated, please, if you have a question about branding, feel free to submit it in the question box or in the comment section below.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me, my man, in the grand scheme of things, with branding, marketing, sales, Moguls HQ, you ever consider selling a business or buying a business?
Yes. Okay. So it's so funny that you mentioned that. So one of my clients right now, he owns a fintech company,
Hmm.
and it's a startup company, but it's basically meant to bridge the gap between people that need financial education and support and the current model. By the current model, there tends to be like a minimum amount of assets that your financial advisor is going to manage for you. So basically, like you could go to a firm and they could say, hey, look, we know that you need help managing your finances, but because you don't have more than $10,000, we can't help you. And so
Mm,
he's developing a digital platform that is meant to bridge that gap and help
nice.
people get the advice that they need and things of that nature. And so when he found out about me and my agency, we hit it off and we started working together. But one of the things that he asked was, what are some of the revenue models that you've played with? And
Mm,
I've played with two, and I'm still playing with two. One of them is a flat rate for a build out, and then the other
mhm.
is an ongoing kind of retainer model. And one
Okay.
of the questions he asked me, he said, I think you have that in a good point, and it's accessible and whatnot, but have you ever thought about taking equity in the businesses that
Mm,
you work with and maybe having an upfront installment or setup fee as well? And it reminded me of a couple that someone had told me about. This couple did marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they would go about it is they would find businesses that were failing, and they'd come to the owner and say, "Hey, look, your business, we can tell it's not doing all that well, but we know why and we can fix it. All we want is 10% or 20% of what we help you generate after we start working with you." And these
Mm.
businesses were about to fail. They said, sure, absolutely. And they said that a lot of times the businesses would get so successful that the owner would come back to them and say, hey, look, you guys have done great work. Actually, matter of fact, this has grown into something way bigger than I ever even wanted. I'll sell it to you because this is too much headache for me. And then they would buy and own and continue to manage and grow the business. The moment I heard that, I became very interested in playing with that possibility. Because for you to have marketing expertise and go
Damn.
to a business that needs it and might not know the potential or might not be able to capitalize on that potential, it's super appealing. It's like the same as house flipping. It's like, hey, I see the
Mm.
potential here and I know how to arbitrage the value at the height of its potential and what it's going to take to get it there. And once I do that, I'll get to capture that difference. It's kind of the same thing. If I bought a business that didn't know how to market for 50 bands, 200 bands a mil, but after putting in some marketing at the expense of 30K, I was able to, you know, 2x the value of the business, 3x the value in the cash flow of the business. That's super appealing.
Right.
The only thing that's kind of kept me from that is I'm not certain what kind of a business I have enough of a
Mm.
finger on the pulse on to go into and
Mm.
accurately say, yeah, everything else here is fine. You guys just need content and I can help you with that.
Right.
I don't know that I have enough real world experience with any kind of business outside of a video production agency or a content
Okay.
agency
Word.
that's going, because I don't actively participate in real estate. I
Mm.
mean I look at deals, right? Like I'm always keeping my ear to the ground for opportunities, but I'm not a real estate professional. And so
Right.
like I couldn't take a look at a real estate brokerage and be like, yeah,
Yeah.
everything about this brokerage is great. You guys just need help with content and marketing. And so I'm going to buy you and do that. And it's going to confidently 2x or 3x in value. I don't know that. So for
Mm.
that reason, I haven't yet explored buying a business. Selling a business, dude, selling a business so like Kavan and I had a very intensive period where we were really diving into like how to go into a business with the plan to exit, right? I think
Mm.
what I don't like about selling a business is like you just have to be so intentional about selling it from early on because
Mm.
if you intend to sell it, you're going to build it a very different way. You're going to build it to,
Mm.
and I think for me, there would just come a degree of detachment from the business
Mm.
because I know that I'm not, I'm not like I don't love this thing. I'm gonna walk away from it in 2 years. So
Right.
it's like I just feel like it wouldn't get the best parts of me. But at the same time, I love kind of like the approach that you can take when you're looking to sell a business.
Mm.
Concept, MVP, get funding, market scale, acquire, sell.
Slide.
You might flip that whole page in 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
You know what you're doing.
Right.
That's super appealing, dude. That's super appealing. But I think there's some things that might go against my natural personality. So we'll see. Maybe sometime in the future, but I think it's a little too rich for me right now. How about you?
That's real. That's real. That's real. Oh man. I mean, I've definitely thought about. I don't know much about. I don't know if I want to buy a company
Mm,
so much as I'm open to joining the team to help it and then sell the company.
okay. Okay.
Like if same example, if someone was great company, great concept, great model, a lot of scale potential, missing, those core branding elements, those core marketing features. If they're hiring me to say, hey, we need you to come in 3 years, and our goal is to organize and optimize and then sell and then scale. I'm like, okay, if I rock with the brand and I really the value alignment is there, I'm down to join that campaign.
Yeah.
I don't have ownership of the business. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So it's
Right.
not
But
like
you
I'm
have
giving
equity.
my
You
own
do
thing
still have
away.
equity, ideally.
Right, right, right. So it's not like I'm giving my own thing away, but I'm able to, maybe learn new skills, you know, he said amplify my portfolio, my expertise. You know
Yeah.
what I mean, and help another business maybe. I don't want to use the word escape, but to overcome the
Yeah.
potential embarrassment, the trauma potentially of building a business that failed
Yeah.
at a
Yeah.
large scale. You know, I think it would be very helpful in that manner if they would hire me to, fix the business from the elements that is missing and then help them profit and move forward from that company that was too taxing or maybe overwhelming for them at the time. So
Yeah.
similar situation as yours, but in terms of like buying a company, right, that's kind of tough, man.
Yeah.
I
It
think if
is.
anything, like I would want to buy I'd probably buy into a network, you know what I mean? Where
So
there
like a
are,
franchise kind of thing.
yeah, maybe like a
Okay.
franchise, right? What's got my attention? I'm not too invested in it right now. Is like education, online academy type stuff.
Mm.
So if someone was, let's say, like a metaverse situation, if they were able to create an online academy for something futuristic, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they're pumping out a lot of ideas that are practical and it makes sense, kind of like a conduit. I would definitely be down to put some bread in there and have
Yeah.
some part and have part ownership of this company and be able to influence some of the decisions. But as far as full ownership, I'm good off that, bro. I'm not trying to do
Yeah,
that.
5 something. Yeah, I think I would need, I would really just need to have started a company and managed it, and
Hmm.
then potentially see another company that was in that same vein that
Hmm.
is undervalued and that I know
Right.
is undervalued from experience. And
Yeah.
that's just not experience that I have right now. So I don't know that
Hmm.
I'd be interested in it.
I
The
feel
only
that.
exception would be if it was like a front end investment. Like if someone were to come to
Mm.
me and they were like, hey, throw in 50K, someone else is going to throw in 50K, and together you guys are going to start a car wash and you're each going to be 50-50 on it. I'd be like,
Right.
I would be so open to that. I would just need to
Mm.
know who the individual was.
Nah, facts.
But yeah, like then you're coming into it fresh and you're able to see it take its first steps and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So that would be where the appeal would be for me. Oh, what's
Yeah.
up, Emily?
That's like a partnership right there, man. But
You know
no,
what I'm
that's dope.
saying?
I mean, from scaling all the way up, potentially buying other from scaling a business from idea to enterprise, and then scale for acquisition of another company or selling it. It's essential to understand and be consistent in the branding. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You want to make sure that all these elements are on point from a visual perspective, from a feedback customer experience perspective, from a visual identity perspective, and definitely for sure from a video content creation perspective. You want to make sure that everything as best as you can is authentic and speaks to the true values of your brand and things that align with it.
yeah, man.
So I think this has been strong, man. I feel good. Um, I think this was dope,
Yes,
man. We
sir.
dropped some sauce, bro, for sure. How you feeling?
Oh man, I'm feeling awesome. I'm just excited, dude. I'm excited for the webinar series, for the live series. I'm excited to have our guest on. Like
Yeah,
number one, just because I think they're gonna bring, I know they're gonna bring so much value to the folks
absolutely.
that tune in, but also I'm excited to pick their minds because I think you're probably so similar to me in this. Like, I sit across from someone, I don't care what you do. If I know that
Facts.
you're good at it, if I know that you really in the trenches with it, I'm gonna be sitting there like, I have questions and I will ask them all. And so that's what we're gonna be doing. I can't
Facts.
not be excited about that. But yeah,
Facts.
man. So the first episode is gonna be kicking off this upcoming Thursday, August 11th, and I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna be posting about the registration page and the registration link so that you can actually get opted in for the email reminders and to actually get access to the event. And then beyond that, we're going to be ready to roll. We'll be sharing some content from this live and the last live in between now and then, just to kind of keep getting folks warmed up for it. And we are
Right.
on the road to brand mastery, brother. I'm feeling great about
Yes,
it. It's
sir.
going to be awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So again, just one last time because it's important. If you haven't already, please go ahead and give us a follow
Yeah, yeah.
or shoot us a DM right after this live is over so we can give you that registration link. Just for your awareness, the entire series is absolutely free. It's online, so you don't have to buy anything. There's no credit cards. There's no transactions. You don't have to leave your house.
True that.
Okay, all you got to do is tune in from your computer and get the knowledge. So again, give us a follow. Hit us up in our DMs. Feel free to ask us questions and be on the lookout for more information on how to get connected with this webinar.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as always, it has been a pleasure. My name is Corey with Champion Circle Enterprise, and we are a brand development agency. And our goal is to lead people and businesses forward through knowledge, clarity, and direction on their brand identity, my man. You can hit me up if you have questions about any of that. And
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead, Josh, man. Let's get it.
Oh yeah, you chilling, man. So y'all know me. Folks call me Rav. She said, and for free. Yup, it's
Yes,
for
yes,
free. Yeah,
yes,
we helping people out
absolutely.
for free. We really just want to lace folks up, and it's gonna be tight, man. It's gonna be so exciting. But yeah,
Yeah.
folks call me Rav. I'm an agency owner of an agency called Moguls HQ. We're a video content agency, primarily working with service-based businesses, coaches, and consultants to help them grow their audience, increase their revenues, and just overall do more of what they're best at through video content. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Muscle up. Yup. And then I'm also by trade an independent video strategist. So I work with agencies. I work with folks to help get those video projects from inception all the way through to actual distribution. And so we're going to be sharing all of our gems and all of our perspective and experience, and even bringing some other folks into this fold on the webinar series. And we're both looking forward to it. We're fired up, and so is everyone else that we're bringing in. So I think that just about wraps it up for the night. And like Corey said, if you guys got any questions, feel free to slide in our DMs, let us know, shoot us a message, and definitely keep an eye out for that registration link. We're going to be sharing a lot of that as well as a lot of content in between now and episode 1 on Thursday. And so we're going to be live. And I think with that, we're going to close it out, man. Hey, great speaking
Sir.
with you as always, Corey. Until next time,
Yes,
all right?
sir. All right, bro. Bless up, man. Till next time, brother.
You got it, man. All right, and we off on
All right.
Instagram, and we about to be off on
Let's
streaming. And I just want to
go.
thank everybody on streaming as well for tuning in with us. It's been great having
Hey,
y'all
we
and
went ham,
chopping it up with
bro.
y'all.
Yes,
It's been
sir.
lit, man. It's been awesome. I love what we
Yes,
doing right now.
sir. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Let
You
me
about to pop
end
back
the
on?
podcast and let me turn my volume back up.